What's up, Yankees universe? KOD Nation, stand up, and all you DJs, wake up and get your coffee. Welcome to another fine and special episode of the Yankees Morning Brew. We are having on our guy Eric Hubs from Barstools. But before I bring him in, I just want to shout out to the chat this morning. Mikey Maz and the 4-Train Express. Salute. Good morning, sir. Hope all is well after this, little chilly weekend out here in NYC. I know you're in Seattle, but it's a bit cold. Winter is coming, as they say from Game of Thrones. My man James Cook is in the building. James Cook, what it do? Good morning. And of course, my man Pots and Pan, Jigga Man Portito, what is good, baby? NY Yankee King is in the building. James Cook just started it off right. He said, I expected more from the Mets this weekend with DeGrom and Scherzer and Bassett pitching. Listen. If you was a betting man like myself is on Friday, you would have put your money down on the Mets to take at least one game out of the three in Atlanta. And Zook, I apologize. I'm so sorry, Zook. Zook, if you want, you could call me later. We can have a little therapy session if you want, Zook. If you need a virtual hug, I can give you a virtual hug, my guy. It's all love in the land. But like I said, got a special guest coming on. Before he comes on, I just want to play this thing right before we introduce him. But we'll be right back. Good morning, Eric. What is good, brother?
What's happening? I keep staring at this graphic you made of me. What the hell is going on here with this?
I hope it got you. I hope you like it. I hope it got your likeness according to your like. I hope you.
I don't remember the last time I wore a tie, so I don't know. I don't know if that's going. But yeah, the face actually looks pretty good. What's happening, man?
Nothing, man. Just here, I was talking about it's a little chilly now in New York City. The weather's changing and everything like that. Hubs, how was your weekend, brother?
Weekend was great. Didn't have to worry about Yankees baseball, which is nice. Nice little reprieve here in October as we wait to see who we're playing. Got to watch the Mets collapse, which was very nice. Yeah, watched some football. Had a good weekend.
Yes. I guess again, another subtle jab at our guy Zook. Shout out to Zook also for setting this up. I appreciate you for taking your time.
He's also mourning his Steelers, so he's in a tough spot right now.
Oh yeah, he really is. And I always found that was a unique pairing, him being a Met fan and a Steeler fan. I just had to figure out what happened to him as a child to make him fall under those categories for fandom.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat though. I'm a Yankees Packers fan, so I get the same stuff all the time. So it just happens. Life leads you down some really weird paths sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. But before we started out, for the people in the chat that are watching that don't know where you're from, that don't know about you, just give a little spill real quick where they can find you and what you're known for.
Yeah, I am the co-editor-in-chief over at Barstool Sports. I'm a big Yankees fan. If you've follow me on Twitter. God bless you. It's all Yankees, just insufferable Yankee stuff. I'm from New Jersey originally, went to Syracuse University. Yeah, that's it. I hate talking about myself and who I am. I don't know how to introduce myself, but that's basically it.
No, okay, appreciate it. But what's your thoughts so far on this season? Because this Yankee season, it's been a roller coaster, as you say. Beginning of the season, the first 2 weeks, everybody wanted to fire everybody, fire Boone, fire Cashman, and then the team just started clicking and went on that long run. And then in August, it was okay, we need to fire everybody campaign. So, what's your thoughts on this up and down season and the season that Aaron Judge is putting together?
Yeah, never expected this in a million years. Based off the roster, they were picked to finish around 4th in the AL East. I didn't think they should have brought Boone back and given him his extension. I thought that was all a mistake. I didn't love the offseason. They let every big name first baseman and shortstop, just go. You bring back Rizzo, who I was fine bringing back with. If you address shortstop, they ended up bringing in IKF, and then they basically stuck with him all year, which I still think is a mistake. They didn't address a whole lot, but what they did do is get way better defensively, and that has pretty much changed the whole game here. They went from being the worst defensive team in baseball to maybe the best, depending on what metric you look at, and it saved them and won them a lot of games. And they combined that with some pretty good starting pitching all year round. Nestor Cortez, prove that he is not a fluke. He is fantastic. Posted the lowest ERA in Yankees history since Ron Guidry. The bullpen, for the most part, was really good. Clay Holmes was great. And then everything fell apart. Now I don't know who to trust. We're going into a postseason where the Yankees essentially don't have a closer, which we were just talking on my podcast. I don't remember the last time I don't think it's ever happened in my lifetime where the Yankees didn't have a definitive closer going into October. It's been a roller coaster. Like you said, August was a nightmare. They went like 9-20. It was, I think, the worst month they've had in 30 years in Yankees history. Something you never saw coming because the first few months were out of this world. They were world beaters. And then they just fell right back to earth. The offense completely just evaporated. Nothing went right. There were injuries piling up too. That's not necessarily an excuse because the guys on the field just didn't hit. But then all of a sudden in September, things turn around. And obviously Aaron Judge was the steady calmness and all that all year long. That guy never slumped. He is the definitive MVP. I hope he breaks Maris, gets 62 here in Texas. It's been truly, like, regardless of how bad August was, still have to, the lead was still there. Thank God they brought it back up and they clinched the AL East. But you have to take a step back here and there and appreciate how amazing a year Aaron Judge had for the Yankees and how historic it was and how we're not probably seeing this again. Like this just doesn't happen. And you have your Mets fans and your Red Sox fans trying to downplay it because it's all they can do. Red Sox fans have had a nightmare year, and the Mets just blew a 10.5 game lead in the NL East. So all they have left is to basically, downplay Aaron Judge and make themselves feel better about that. But it was an unbelievable season. It's been overall a great year. They clinched the AL East. You don't have to worry about anything here for a week until the ALDS gets going. So overall, an incredible season. Who knows what happens in October? But they've positioned themselves in a very good way as long as they can figure out the bullpen to make some noise and hopefully get back to the World Series.
Yeah, I got a question from the chat, which caught my eye. He said, Hubs, what do you think the media has done with the overviewing of Judge's attempt at 62? And I was going to literally try to, if not that same question, because it seems like the media is super focused on it. Every at bat now, as it should be. It's a record, it's history, right in front of our eyes. But do you think that the media is overhyping this and just too much eyes are being drawn to this? What's your overall thoughts on that?
I love to see people squirm on college football Saturdays when the cut-ins happen and they're just like, oh my God, my precious college football. Like, I absolutely love it. I wish it was happening all year long with college football. I wish, Nestor Cortez, when he has 2 strikes on a batter, I wish they just cut into him. It's well worth the attention. People should be watching Yankees baseball. So I appreciate what ESPN has done. I do not think it's been over broadcasted. No, it's an incredible moment. People deserve to watch it, and they're doing us a favor by cutting in because people want to watch their college football, but also Aaron Judge, very historic season, very historic moment about to happen here. We should all be watching it.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. And you brought up an interesting point when you talk about Aaron Judge, and I've had several conversations with people. Regardless of the outcome of this season, right? Regardless of what happens, knock on wood, we don't have a crystal ball to see what happens in the postseason. Yankee fans should just take a step back and acknowledge that the season that we're watching from Aaron Judge, like you said, we're never going to see it again. I could reminisce on these past 20 years as a Yankee fan. This has been the best season a Yankee has put together in my eyes since I've been watching the game. I don't go back far enough for Don Mattingly that I was never able to see his great years, but overall, this is probably the best season a Yankee player has had over the past 20 years. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, those A-Rod years were something. A-Rod 07. But to hit as many home runs as he had in a year where offense is down across the league, like he had, it's crazy the gap he has from the second spot. And to do it with I think it's now a 311 batting average, that's just unheard of. If you hit 40, 50 plus home runs these days, you're hitting 220, 230 because all you're doing is swinging for the fences. He is just a complete hitter. The game has never seen something like this where you're that high of an average and that many home runs. It's astonishing. It's crazy. To do it in a year where offense is so down is remarkable, and to do it with all the pressure of his contract year, where he turned down the money, coming into this year. And honestly, I thought at the time it was a fair deal. And he's completely squashed that and raised his value to a number where I'm terrified to see where it goes because I hope to God Hal pays it. I think he will, but it's going to be a very high number.
Yeah, let's talk about that. The hypothetical contracts that Aaron Judge can get. Because when it comes to spending money, we love spending money, especially when it's not our money, right? When it's someone
Mhm.
else's money, when it's a billionaire's money like Hal Steinbrenner, we could just sit back and just spend it all day. But you bring up an interesting point. The offer that the Yankees offer Judge, they're gonna have to damn near double that in order to
Mhm.
keep Aaron Judge, right? So when you look at the Yankees payroll and how it's structured, this is one thing I want to keep in mind to people, that when it comes to like the annual value of his contract, regardless if it's 35 or 40 million, the Yankees, they could maneuver some things around and pay that off next year potentially, because when you have Zach Britton 15 million coming off the books, and you got Aroldis Chapman 18 million coming off the
Mhm.
books, you take away the 17 million, 19 million that Judge is already playing with this year, put that all together, that's 47 million right there. So the Yankees do have up to 47 million per year to pay Judge without even skipping a beat or going into their pockets too much. What do you think about that real quick?
Yeah, you seem to be doing Hal's job for him. Chad Green as well, I think, is off the books.
Mm-hmm,
Jameson Tyone as well. I would love to bring him back. Um, yeah, there are guys for sure coming off that can make this work, and I think they will make it work.
mm-hmm,
Whether it's in my perfect world, it's 8 for 300 is what gets it done. It's probably going to be a lot higher than that. I would it's
mm-hmm,
maybe 9 350. I don't know what the final number looks like, but there you just can't let him walk.
mm-hmm.
There are literally seats in right field with his name on it. Are you? If we have to take those out with like a construction team, that will be the lowest moment of this franchise's history. You can't take those seats out. You can't take the judges' chambers out. You just can't. So you have to pay him, bring him back. I understand the second half of that contract will likely hurt. It will.
Mm-hmm.
But the
Mm-hmm.
first, but if you're, but this like and he's getting better every year somehow still. I know he's an
That's the
outfielder and
scary
his
part.
but people who say like also like he's injury prone are just wrong. He's played
Mm-hmm,
his last 2 seasons he's played 150 games, 148
mm-hmm,
plus games. So he's figured out the injury stuff. He's a complete hitter. He is the entire team. If you take him off this team, they're not a playoff team. Most
mm-hmm.
likely they're not a playoff team.
Nope.
So yeah, I mean he's worth every penny and more. I can't believe the season he's had under the pressure that he's been under to
Mm-hmm.
essentially carry this team. It's been remarkable.
Yeah, and you bring up his injury history, right? And when you look at it, it's little fluke injuries. You know, he got hit on his wrist. He dove for a ball, he broke a rib, probably an oblique strain. So it's random injuries. It's not he's tearing his shoulder and getting
Hmm.
surgery. He's not tearing his ACL or MCL and getting surgery. It's nothing with the back. So when you talk about his injuries, it's leaning towards injuries that he can maintain over the course of that contract. You bring it up that that back part of the contract, it may be filled with some years of like, oh my God, what are we doing? But the first 4 to 5 years is what you go to bank on when it comes to Aaron Judge. And if you can throw in, right, like you said, 300 over 8 years, how? If you got to throw in incentives every year, throw in incentives. For every year
Yeah,
he wins the MVP, give him an extra 2 to 5 mil.
sure.
For every year he's an all-star MVP, same thing. For every time win the World Series, same thing. World Series MVP, because I'll take that. If you could tell me we get all 4 of those things and I just got to pay an extra 10 million per year for Judge, why not? You
Yeah,
know, like why
those
not?
should be things you're happy to pay. Like, oh, you
Ex-
hit 50 home runs? Great. Here's
Bingo.
an extra. Here's a little bonus. Like, no problem. Like, yeah, I agree wholeheartedly there. I also think like wasting, like you have already Garrett Cole and Giancarlo under contract
Mhm.
here. Don't waste those years. Like
Yeah.
you only have X amount of those guys, X amount of those years where those guys are performing to the ability they can. And who knows if whatever Stan gets back to, this has not been a good year for him whatsoever. But Garrett Cole,
Hmm.
for the most part, you can't afford. You paid him this many years. You got to maximize on. So
Yeah.
yeah, I completely agree. We're on the same page here. You got to pay him.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. It's especially because you got all these rumors, right? You got the San Francisco Giants,
Yeah.
but then you also got the Red Sox and the Mets, right?
The Red Sox
And
aren't paying. They can't even pay
that's
their
what I'm
own
saying.
guys.
That's what I'm saying. If they would have spent that money on Mookie Betts, but hypothetically, right? Who would you want to see him go to if you had to choose? Who
Oh,
is the
don't
worst
ask.
option?
No,
I know.
the
But if
Yomiuri
we in New
Giants.
York,
I go to
if
the
we,
Yomiuri Giants. Okay,
but
go
if
play over there.
would you rather face him as an inner city rival with Queens and the Mets, or would you rather face him for division rival with the Red Sox?
That's such a mean question. Like
I'm
that's
so sorry to ask.
oh
Don't
my
beat me up
god.
through the screen, my guy.
The answer is I'd rather him on the Mets because I face him much less. Do I hear about him more? Yeah, for sure, because he's in New York, but I can't have him on the Boston Red Sox. That's to me, like I always get asked, like, who would you rather win the World Series? Like if the Mets play the Red Sox, like it's the Mets every single time. When the Red Sox win, it's the worst thing that's ever happened. It's worse than like family members dying in my family. Like it's just not. I can't live with myself when that happens. So of course I can never see Judge over there. No.
Yeah, because 2000. I'm still having nightmares from 2004. I still have nightmares from 2004. But like I said, I'm sorry for asking you such a volatile question. But hopefully the Yankees can have this Judge contract scenario be a learning curve, right? Because the next few batches of baby bombers to come up, whether it's Volpe or Dominguez, if they hit the ground running the same way Judge did in his rookie year, use this as a learning curve and pay them before you even get here. Look what Seattle did with Julio Rodriguez. Look what San Diego did for Tatis. I understand the injury and everything.
The Braves with their entire team.
Austin Riley, Michael. Yeah. So when it comes to these baby bombers, Volpe and Dominguez, especially Dominguez, I'm not sure if you've seen it. The 5 games that he played with Somerset in the playoffs, he's hitting 450. He has 3 home runs. He has an on-base percentage of 560. Is the hype real for Jason Dominguez? What's your thoughts on Dominguez real quick?
Yeah, I mean, he had an unfair start with like passing, writing that article comparing him to like Mickey Mantle and whatever. But he had a rough get-go. Granted, he was like 3 or 4 years younger than everyone he was playing with to start out his minor league career. But he's made some insane adjustments at the plate with his leg kick or whatever. I was reading a very good article the other day about it. And it's like, is he going to be Mike Trout? No. But can he be an all-star, a perennial all-star? Yes. No question about it. From both sides of the plate, his swing is beautiful. He's fast. He plays great defense. He has insane power. He wants to work. He wants to be better. Jason Dominguez is like a guy. Who knows if we see him maybe later next year? Like his timeline, I feel like is speeding up quicker than people anticipated. He's adjusting way better than people thought. I'm so excited to see him up on the Bronx, whenever that may be. I think ideally their plan would be Bader, because Bader's through next year. I want to say, so he's your center fielder, and then when he's gone, 2024, it's Jason Dominguez time. But maybe Jason Dominguez time, maybe they get him to taste like they're doing with Oswald Peraza here. Where they kind of didn't plan on. They just wanted to get him like that feel of the major leagues. Similarly, they kind of did with Jeter. Where like he came up with like, listen, we just want you in the dugout to feel this, and then next year it's go time. Hope maybe they do the same thing with Dominguez next year, where he's like a September guy just to get the feel of it, and then we see you in 2024. Although that would be very difficult for the fans to see him up there and then like have him not play. He is the Martian. But yeah, Dominguez is the real deal for sure. And Volpe is even better. I mean, Volpe's. I'm so excited to see Anthony Volpe on the Yankees next year. It's going to be it's going to feel like I don't know if we've ever had that feel, because when Judge came up, he wasn't the number one prospect. Like he was just like, he's a freak. Like we'll see what happens. Like he's going to strike out a lot. We'll see. But then he morphed obviously into this. With Volpe, it's like he's the top prospect. I guess it's similar to Gleyber, but Gleyber wasn't homegrown. He was with the Cubs for a while. So, but Volpe's been ours. He's our guy. Like it's been a long time since they've had a guy like Anthony Volpe come through the system like this and seemingly dominate everywhere he's been. Where he has like an adjustment period, and Yankee fans need to be wary of this, and they won't because they're very impatient. But like Volpe will have an adjustment period for about 30 to 40 games probably. It should be longer, but so far in his track record, it's taken that, and then all of a sudden he takes off. So I'm very excited for Volpe to come up. The kids are they have so much talent in that system right now, at least hitting-wise. They kind of traded all the pitchers away, but hitting-wise, there's a lot there.
I kind of fall under the line of, all right, let's develop position players and we can figure out the starting pitching afterwards, right? Especially with the Yankees pockets, they could go out and they could spend on starting pitching. But one thing that the Yankees haven't done, especially in recent history, is developed healthy starting pitching, right? We'll have a starting pitcher for 1 or 2 seasons and then they get injured. When you look back these past 20 years, you got Severino, Ivan Nova for a little bit, Ching-Ming Wang. What happened to Ching-Ming Wang was horrible. He had such a promising career.
Yep.
But you bring up the position players, right? And I've been to some of the minor league games and stuff like that. But if I'm tell you this right now, whenever you get a second, right, there's a kid in the Yankee system that he's flying super under the radar. It's an 18-year-old shortstop by the name of Kiner Delgado. He was just playing in the Dominican summer, summer league that they have, development league or whatever. He led in every offensive category except for home runs. He led in batting average. He had a 315 batting average. Check this out. He had a 550 on base percentage as an 18-year-old. To me, that shows me he's leaps and heads beyond the talent that's around him. So when it comes to this system, I'm super happy because it seems like the Yankees have finally developed and learned how to develop talent. You look back in the early 2000s, our minor league system was barren. It was a wasteland. Like Robinson Cano and Ching-Ming Wong, that was it. Melky Cabrera was a consolation prize coming out the minors. But when you look at the crop of talent going forward, who do you credit that to? Do you credit that more to like Randy Levine, who's taking a hard step of warning that, or Brian Cashman?
I guess I go Levine. I think it's a mixture of both. Something has changed. I'd love to know what moment everything did change with, because you're right. Like there has been an organizational step in the minor leagues. Like every year, you even see their win-loss record, and it's just like they're every single level is just dominating. So yeah, it's fun to see they figured that out. For a while, like you said, it wasn't there, but there's the developmental aspect of the Yankees organization has taken a giant leap forward in the last like 5 years, I want to say. So it's definitely exciting. Like, guys like you said, and we haven't even mentioned like a guy like Roderick Arias, the guy they got in the international pool. That guy could be better than everyone. I mean, he's a star. So, but where do you play him? But that's a way down the line future problem. But it's very exciting, and even there are arms they're developing as well. They're just trading someone like Ken Waldachak was a stud, and he is going to be a stud for the Oakland A's. He's shown some good flashes already at the major league level. They got Warren coming up. They've got arm. Clark Schmidt, we're seeing that obviously finally. Michael King, like they're developing arms and bats, and it's huge, and it's big for trade pieces. If Cashman can work out the right trade, that remains to be seen. But it's very exciting for sure.
Yeah, especially who they got back for Joey Gallo. Like he's emerged as a big arm. He's literally averaging 16 or 17 strikeouts per 9 innings ever since coming over to the Yankees organization. So it's
Clayton Beater, right?
Yeah. He was with Somerset for a while, then they moved him up to AAA. But that's another piece. Brian Cashman under the radar. I know a lot of Yankee fans, they aren't super happy when it comes to Brian Cashman, but look at what Seattle had to give up for Castillo. They literally had to give up like 5 of their top prospects.
It would have cost Volpe and Dominguez, I think,
and some more. It would have cost Volpe, Dominguez, and probably Austin Wells. And Austin Wells, to me, I want to see the Tampa Tarpons play down by like July 4th, around that time. And it was his first game with Tampa, and he hit one out of the park, out of George and Steinbrenner.
He should be here next year in some capacity.
Yeah, he's a guy that I think the Yankees, his bat is too special to lose behind the plate. You got to move him to first base or left field, because he has the speed also. He stole 2 bases in the game that I was watching when I was down there.
It makes no sense. Like his complexion and what he can play and what he can do is crazy.
And his mustache too. His mustache is already ready for the Bronx. He already has that Bronx mustache. He's competing with Matt Carpenter and Nestor Cortez for the best mustache on the team.
Yeah, no question. I'm happy I would love to have Luis Castillo. But and I'm usually a guy who let's trade. Let's get these guys. But like for that price, I just couldn't do it. And they took the stab on Montas because he was cheaper. There was some injury history with him. He's coming over with the shoulder, and it's still a shoulder injury. It sucks. But at the end of the day, like I'm happy they did it in a weird way, even though it could backfire with this immediate year. But I did not want to do Volpe and Dominguez for Castillo. I did. Now you throw Juan Soto out there. That's a little different of a story, but I don't think that was a realistic thing.
Yeah, the only time I even entertained it was, okay, if we could get Luis Castillo and the Diaz brother that they has as a reliever, maybe then we could entertain the conversation. But I didn't want to lose Volpe or Dominguez, because that would have been the Yankees' luck. We trade both Volpe and Dominguez, and they become future All-Stars with the Cincinnati Reds. That definitely would have been our luck. But speaking more on the trade deadline, right? We couldn't really, well, personally myself, I couldn't evaluate the Jordan Montgomery trade until seeing Harrison Bader and what he brings to the
But
field.
we're allowed to be frustrated until that happens.
We definitely are allowed to be frustrated. But one thing I always told people was just think of it like this. Aaron Hicks has been so bad that the Yankees had to trade a middle of the rotation starting pitcher to just make up for his deficit, because we've seen so many plays him just being lazy out there. And I'm not the one to just beat on players. That's not my MO. I don't like to do that, but
I like to do that.
I'll leave that to you. Yeah, I'll leave that to you. But when it's time to call somebody out, you got to call somebody out. Now, do you remember when he had that horrible game when it was the Derek Jeter day, right? They give the plaque away. It was he literally was pulled off of the field. That game, right? Eric, I'm gonna ask you, as somebody who covers baseball, you've been a baseball fan. I've seen interviews of you, so I know that you breathed this ever since you was a child. So as somebody who's a baseball fan, right? If you were Aaron Hicks and you knew that Friday game, you had the Derek Jeter ceremony, everything is being moved up an hour when it comes to batting practice and stuff like that. What time would you, Eric Hubbs, show up to the stadium, get ready for that game?
8 a.m.
that man showed up at 3:45, 4 o'clock.
Yeah, he doesn't care. He's a worthless piece of scrum. I can't stand him. I haven't stand. I just he's the most frustrating person in the world. And there is this faction, and they basically all died off now. But there was this faction of Yankee fans that just love Aaron Hicks, and they love that he walks and he has a good arm and all this, and they just ignore that he's a career like 210 hitter and he's lazy and he doesn't put effort in. And he hit the one homer against Verlander, obviously, and everyone, that seems to happen with like these terrible players, like Greg Bird's homer against Andrew Miller. Oh my God, Greg Bird. Aaron Hicks' homer against Verlander in the ALs. Oh my God, Aaron Hicks. They just ignore everything else. They put the blinders on. They just focus on those moments. What about that? What about that? He is horrible, and nothing showed more than that game. Like that game was an encapsulation of what Aaron Hicks is his team. And I do credit now. Cashman's biggest fault sometimes, a lot of times, is not admitting a mistake. You saw it so long with Gary Sanchez.
Yeah,
there's a ton of guys down the list, and you're seeing with IKF right now, actually. But thankfully, it's taken him a little too long, but finally he did. He realized Aaron Hicks can't be the center fielder of this team moving forward, at least in the play. And you got Bader, and Bader is the anti-Hicks. He's everything that Aaron Hicks isn't. Is he a 300 hitter? No, but he puts the bat on the ball. He has power. He's a unreal center fielder. He's probably the best center fielder we've ever had. The diving plays, the arm, whatever. I went to a few games and I saw just his work alone is like exceptional. Like you can just appreciate how he gets around the ball and puts himself in position to throw. He's an energy guy. He steals bases. He takes extra bases when he's on them. I love Harrison Bader so much. I'm happy that the Aaron Hicks days are over. I hope to God he's not on the postseason roster. I can't imagine he is. Especially with the guys coming back. But yeah, I hope to trade him for a bucket of balls in the offseason and say see you later.
You'll probably be able to get a vending machine from the Oakland A's for Aaron Hicks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you, bro, because I literally got to that game at 3 o'clock because I wanted to make sure to get one of those plaques. And we're standing by gate 4, right next to where the press and where the players goes in. And I kid you not, somebody's like, yo, is that Aaron Hicks coming to the stadium at 4 o'clock right now? And he jumped out of his white SUV. I guess it was an Uber to drop him off. And we were just like, what are you doing? And it showed in the game. Preparation is horrible. But when you talk about Bader, his preparation, I've been to games and he's out there early, especially with Cabrera learning left field. Harrison Bader, you literally see him out there showing him, all right, you track like this, you track like that. For certain balls, he just came in and he just fit like a perfect glove. Like the energy he brings. He brings that first game when he was able to score from second base off that.
Oh my God, it was unbelievable. That jump. I've never been so excited about like just a guy scoring from second in my entire life. But it was just like it was, and you thought initially, wait, did he just not know how many outs there were? Then you see the replays, you're like, wait, no, he takes the step, takes a secondary. Oh wait, he sees it. He times his reads perfectly. Yeah, he's fantastic. The trade just happened at the worst time because that's when the slump happened. And everything was just gone haywire, and he's not available, and you got to go play Hicks still. And it's just like, and you see Jordan Montgomery shoving, he's throwing his fastball more with the Cardinals. And then now, okay, clinched the division, fine. Got the 2 seed, fine. Bader's here, great. And you realize, like, you look through the playoff rotation, Montgomery doesn't fit in this. So, like, Montgomery, like, he would have, and that was the explanation. I was just a little annoyed at the time that they didn't have, and I still believe this, that they had a trade with the Marlins kind of working to kind of, reset it a little, reset the rotation. They just didn't. And then they relied on Domingo Germán. Domingo pitched well. So, it ended up working out. It was just really tough to get to this point.
Yeah, it was that trade deadline. It was that day was a bit of a roller coaster as well, because it's like, all right, we trade Jordan Montgomery. Then the rumors were the Yankees are going to get Pablo Lopez. All right, cool. This is going to figure it out. And then we're sitting there, and it's like the time goes by, and we pass that. What's happening? What's going to happen? I guess we're never going to know. But when it comes to the Pablo Lopez deal, right? You bring that up. Interesting enough. Gleyber Torres, his August and July was horrible. His batting average was down to his low 224. I think it was at his lowest point, and now he's basically a 260 hitter. Like he's basically borderline 260. With Gleyber Torres, it's like, oh, I want to trade him to get something. He's not doing what he has to do, but then he goes on a run like this, and he just shows that he's a hitter. What's your take on Gleyber Torres? Because he has had a roller coaster season himself. Are you trading him this offseason?
No, how can you? I mean, this is. I mean, the first his start to the year was great, and you're like, wow, this is Gleyber, okay. And then all of a sudden, like you said, that middle of the season, it was so bad. It was crazy. He was trying to pull everything. His leg kick was the highest it's like ever been. And then all of a sudden, I swear, I tweeted like, we should treat Gleyber Torres like Willie Mays Hayes. And Willie Mays Hayes in the movie Major League, if he hit the ball in the air, he had to do push-ups. I was like, if Gleyber Torres pulls the ball, make him do push-ups, because when he's right, he's going up the middle and right center. And then all of a sudden, it kind of just started to happen. And now he's taking pitches the other way. He still can pull the ball, but that's when his power shows. And man, he's one of our trusted hitters right now, like out of nowhere. So I'm relieved it all worked out, because could you imagine we traded him to the Marlins and Pablo Lopez just like wasn't all that there is? And I think Oswald Peraza would have probably been that deal too, or at least the Marlins wanted him to. Happy they didn't do that.
Yeah.
So I'll give them credit for sure there. But yeah, Gleyber Torres is, when he's up at the plate right now, I get excited. And that wasn't the case in August. It was quite the. I went to go to the bathroom in August. So
yeah, it was you're changing your TV to see what's going on something else.
Right.
But you bring up the Marlins and this trade deadline, Brian Cashman and stuff. And when I was at that Yankee game and Jeter had that that little ceremony, he told the fans, you don't want to boo. Cryptic, because Derek Jeter, he always speaks in cryptic languages and stuff like that. The rumors started going crazy. Yankee fans, Derek Jeter's announced that he's taking Brian Cashman's job, blah, 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 blah. What's your thoughts on Yankee fans losing their mind with the possibility of Jeter replacing Cashman?
Yeah, I don't think that's happening. If he came in as maybe an assistant or whatever, or an advisor, that'd be cool. That'd be exciting. Maybe even as an announcer. I don't know. He was very cryptic. You're right. And I don't know where it leads. It does seem like he wants to be more part of the organization, though, which is nice, because obviously in the last 5 years there was nothing. So that's exciting. I don't know. I don't want to speculate. Like I think the hysteria and the hype around it is warranted. It's Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter wants to do something, you let him do it. So we'll see. I think at the end, and I know this is Cashman's last year under contract, I think he gets re-upped. He's basically family with the Steinbrenners. So I'd be shocked if he moved on, especially after they won the division. They'll view that and be like, oh, this is a great team, whatever. But yeah, the Derek Jeter hype, he takes a step outside his apartment, I get excited. So well warranted. If he says he wants to be part of the organization more, great. I'm excited.
Yeah, I can't see him, like you said, stepping in for like Brian Cashman or anything like that. I can see him though possibly entertaining Randy Levine's job, that's a possibility, and hiring somebody as the GM to be like a baby Brian Cashman, or a Brian Cashman in the group and the roots, because everybody got to recognize this. If the Yankees hypothetically do replace Brian Cashman, it's not going to be from the outside. It's going to be from internal. It's going to be an internal, just like Brian Cashman was an internal choice, right? They're not going to go on the outside. They're not going to get the guy from Chicago. They're not going to get Billy. They're not going to get any of these guys, right? But one thing you got to say is that when it comes to Brian Cashman, when it comes to Aaron Boone, a lot of people have been hit or miss on them, especially because we haven't won a championship. But I can say this as a Knicks fan, If I was a Knicks fan and you give me the success that the Yankees have had over the past 20 years, I'll take that, guaranteed,
Right.
because the Knicks has been trash. They've been horrible. Any other franchise would take the success that the Yankees have had over the past 20 years, whether it's Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, whoever. But what's your feeling? Because we do have a small faction of Yankee fans that want to win every game, every World Series, every title, and that's you. And you're leading that group of fans when it comes to that. But what's your thoughts overall when people say that, oh, Yankee fans just have to relax and just enjoy the ride?
No, there's a different standard. There's a different standard here, and it's been way too long. 2009 is the last World Series. They haven't been back to the World Series since then. They can't get past the Astros. There's a difference. There's no consolation prizes. Like, you just got to win it all. That's just how I'm ingrained. It's how I grew up. It's sick. It's a sickness for sure. It's almost always leading me to disappointment and sadness. But that's just how I'm ingrained. It's how I think it should be. That's the standard everyone is held to. There's no such thing as like, oh, we got to the LCS, like it was a good year. No. You failed. Everything was a failure, and that's how Jeter viewed it. So that's how I view it. I don't know.
Just got to be able to win. Where can you say that your fandom for this team began? Where can you
right out of the womb.
pinpoint
I was in Yankee clothes right out of the womb. There's pictures of me literally like day one in Yankee clothes. My dad was sure to make sure, like, hey, you're not a Mets fan, you are a Yankees fan, 100%.
Yeah, because for me it was, my mom's growing up. My mom's was a diehard Met fan, but she was one of those that she didn't want me rooting for her team. She wanted me to be the opposite. She wanted me, you know what? No, I have my team. You find your own team, and we can have that rivalry inside the household. So I have to credit my mom for that. And if I have a child, knock on wood, I probably would do the same thing, have him rooting for the other team just so we can have that rivalry inside the household.
I don't like that. I like everyone on the same page. My mom, God bless her soul, would never ever think to root against me. She knows how crazy I can get. So, yeah, she would never take the other path. It would always be the Yankees for sure.
Yeah, no, because my mom, whenever she can call to talk about, look, the Yankees lost or whatever, she's been ignoring my phone calls ever since last night. I've been calling her since last night, since the Mets lost, and she's been ignoring me. She put me on block on Facebook and everything.
Oh no, my mom will know if there's a bad loss, like to wait a day, like just wait one full day, let it breathe, and like maybe Eric will want to talk to me. That's about it.
Hold on 1 second. Yeah, wait. Got Jigga. I don't think he gets lazy, Frank. I think it's more of a gets in his head type of situation. Oh, sorry about that. When it comes to Randy Levine, the Yankees front office and stuff, Hal Steinbrenner, I've talked to so many different people about this, but George Steinbrenner's way of doing things, it doesn't seem like that's the model that they live with or that they go by. Hal is in charge of this team, and I've always told people that when George passed away, he left the team to Hank, not to Hal, and that's for a certain reason, because Hal doesn't have the heart like his father does. And then Hank passed away. When Hank got sick, he brought Hal in. What's your thoughts on like Yankee fans booing Hal and saying that he's not in this for the wins, he's just in this for the profits and stuff? What's your overall feelings and sentiments when it comes to Hal?
Yeah, Hal runs the team like a business. He wants to turn a profit every year. George never ran it like that. George is like, we'll get the profits and win the World Series. That's where all the glory and all the money comes from. And that's how I view it. And Hank was more in the ideal ideology of George. And you're right when you say that. And Hal just is more passive and more thinking about the numbers and the revenue and all this. And all you got to look for is the payroll has stayed relatively the same number in the last 12 years. The revenue has tripled. More than tripled. So that's all you got to look at is you would think both those numbers go up kind of in the same way, or the revenue. Nope, that's not how Hal views it. That being said, they paid Garrett Cole a lot of money, and it's not like they avoided doing that. And that was the move that every fan wanted, and no one could foresee. Obviously, the rule changes and that affecting everything. No one. I don't regret that move at all at the time. That was the move to do. If they didn't get that, I would be devastated. No one could have seen what was going to happen there, but they do spend money. Do they spend enough? Maybe not, and maybe they do. They obviously do treat that luxury tax as like a hard cap in a way. But at the end of the day, like Cashman, it's Cashman's fault. Like that he gave Donaldson. He brought on Donaldson, who makes $20 million a year. Adding these old contracts. Giving Aaron Hicks a $70 million deal. Like that's just a waste of spending the money that they're allowed to do. It's not like they're pay. I don't want to defend Hal, and I'm not, but like I think there's more blame on Cashman for the way he
Mm-hmm.
constructs the roster and the way he spends the money than the way Hal constricts him. If that
Yeah.
makes sense. I think they're both at fault, but Cashman's more at fault.
Yeah, I get you 100% because it's Cashman that is bringing the players to Hal to present them as an option. You know, Hal okays it at the end of it, but Cashman is the one who's going out there and getting the players.
Right.
When it comes to Donaldson, that's a perfect example because in order to dump Gary Sanchez, we had to eat 20 million of Josh Donaldson's contract, and Josh Donaldson and Aaron Hicks alone, that's $30 million right there. That right there is another starting pitcher in the rotation if you had to go out there to get another ace to put behind Garrett Cole. So it's like you said, it's the Yankees are spending the money, but they aren't spending it the right way.
I'll never understand that IKF trade. And they basically were enamored with IKF and they're like, hey, we don't want to go get a Carlos Correa or whatnot. You know, we want to go get the stopgap guy who doesn't even play shortstop. He's a third baseman. And we're just going to hope he plays shortstop for the whole year. And he just has proven every game he can't. And now we're just going to stick with him. And he's going to make a costly error in October. And it's going to make me lose my mind. But yeah, that trade never made sense to me. I didn't get why they didn't just not non-tender Gary, just let him walk. Like, all right. Like, and he's done nothing with the Twins. He's been arguably worse with the Twins. So he's just under less of a microscope with the defense, but I guarantee you it's just as bad. So yeah, that trade will never make sense to me. It just felt like a weird way to just go get a stopgap shortstop and get rid of Gary and just take on Thoughts. Didn't make any sense.
Yeah, because I honestly, if they were looking for a stopgap, I would have been happy with living with Andrew Velasquez as a shortstop over IKF, honestly. Because when you look at it, like, especially now, because the Yankees are so hyper focused when it comes to the analytical sides of things of baseball. Every metric that you can look at from the shortstop perspective when it comes to IKF tells you this guy can't play shortstop. Like if you live and die by the analytics, you need to fire the person that brought you this option and presented it to you, because this totally goes against analytics. The same thing with Aaron Hicks. I know you said there's a small faction that defends him or was defending him, but when you look at the analytics, every metric tells you that he's been horrible defensively over the past 3 years. It's been getting worse and worse and worse. Yes, he walks, but he's just not swinging the bat. So he's going up to the plate looking to draw a walk. He's not going up there looking to get a hit. So when it comes to the analytics, I love how the Yankees have been incorporating the analytics, because when you look at Clay Holmes, that was a big pickup because of the analytics. Shifting Michael King from a starting pitcher to a bullpen arm, that was because of the analytics. And I love that. But it's these bonehead moves that happen that make you scratch your head. Like, you know what? I want to go back to the old school by the gut approach, like Buck Showalter, for instance, in Queens. What's your thoughts when it comes to Buck Showalter and what he's done with the Mets?
Yeah, it's tough to give him credit right now. They do have a ton of wins, but they did just blow the lead. I wanted Buck. I wanted Buck to replace Boone, and I got backlash being like, "Oh, you want this arc? You want another Tony La Russa and blah blah. Look how that's working in the White Sox." Buck was with the Yankees pregame show for the last few years and showed
like 3
that
seasons.
He also has the analytics approach with also being the experience of being in the game for as long as he has. And I like that. And Boone seems to be more analytics based and just by the book and all that, and not really a lot of feel. So I wanted Buck. And it doesn't shock me at all that he's had success with the Mets.
But Buck, to me, he's always been that person that always never got his recognition, right? He never got his, flowers, as they say, or whatever. But Buck Showalter, like you said, I wanted Buck to be the manager of this team. I wanted him to be a part of this organization going forward. But for some reason, the Yankees couldn't see eye to eye with Buck. I think it's because of the analytics, because he wanted to have the end of the day when it comes to the lineup, the say when it comes to the lineup. And the Yankees didn't want to give him that freedom. And I think that's a missed opportunity, especially when you have young kids that are coming up and they need someone like Buck Showalter to look to. Like, this is how you prepare for a game. This is how you go out there. And Buck Showalter has never been one of those, I'm going to scream at you to prove a point type of manager. You've seen him pull people to the side and have conversations one-on-one instead of yelling at people. And I've always thought that was a good thing, because if you're at work and your manager is screaming at you in front of your 5 coworkers, you're going to do your job piss poor no matter what happens. But if he pulls you off to the side and you have that one-on-one conversation, that goes to show you how much he cares more than just getting the job done,
Right. Yeah, for sure. I just don't think Boone does that. Boone just pats you on the head. He's like, good job. Like, Donaldson doesn't run out of ball, gives him a high five. It's just like, be a little bit more into the guy. Maybe they are. Maybe he is behind the scenes, but I really doubt that.
Yeah.
There is the chance that but I don't see that being in him. I do appreciate how he's gotten on umpires this year with low strikes to Judge. He basically gets ejected every time Aaron Judge gets a bad call. I appreciate that because it actually has kind of worked. Like Judge's strike zone has gotten a lot better throughout the year. Umpires are respecting what needs to happen with his at bats, and you can't just call pitches at his ankles anymore. So I do appreciate that. But there are plenty of issues with Boone that I have for sure.
Yeah, like that's a great point because when you look at the first half of the season, Judge had, I think they showed it a couple of days ago, he had 67 pitches on the lower half of the zone that was caught strike when there was really balls, right?
Yeah.
But ever since then, it's only been like 24 since then. So you're right. Boone putting the pressure on the umpires is probably, backing up his play is probably the reason why that's happening. But I know we got to dip out soon, but Hubs, appreciate the conversation, brother. Hopefully we could get you back on, during the postseason and stuff. But I always live by, in order for the Yankees to fully feel vindicated, we have to exercise our demons against the Houston Astros, right? I think that's something we could both agree on moving forward. What's your thoughts real quick before you dip?
Yeah, have to do it. They're always the boogeyman, They just got, at the end of the day, no matter what. No, even when the Yankees were on fire and by far the best team in baseball, like record-wise, it was still, I don't care. Like, it's always going to be Houston still. They're going to win that division, and they ended up winning the AL pennant leader. They won the AL number one home field advantage. I couldn't speak. That's the team to beat, man. They got Altuve, they've got Bregman, they've got Alvarez, they've got Tucker. They're loaded, and their rotation always dummies us, no matter who it is. So, and we don't have home field. It's just, it's not great, but it's baseball, man. Anything can happen. So let's hope for the best. Hey, maybe Seattle just takes them out for us.
Hey, I was looking for that as well, but I would enjoy a World Series, right? Regardless of what happened, but I really, really want to eliminate Houston in order to get there, right?
Sure. But you know what? If I don't have to, I won't really complain.
Yeah. It's one of those. Hey, I'll take.
Like if you look at it right now, they're the path for those two teams right now is like Houston must be furious because it's basically going to be the Guardians or the Rays for us, and for them it's going to be the Blue Jays or Mariners. I don't want anything to do with the Seattle Mariners right now. Castillo has proven he can own us. They've got Gilbert. They've got Robbie Ray, Kirby. Those are four guys I don't want to mess with. Their offense, their home. When they're in Seattle, they're dangerous. I'm very happy we are not on that side of the coin. If we face them, it's in the ALCS. So let them deal with them. But most likely it will be Houston, and it's show up or it's over. So there's part of me that wants to take them out for sure. That would be the ultimate vindication. So we'll see what happens, man.
Yeah, definitely, brother. Appreciate you, my guy, yet again, and be safe out there because this world is cold.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, man.
Problem, bro. See you next time. Later. That was our guy Eric Hubs from Barstool. Great conversation. Very passionate Yankee fan. As you can tell, but let me look at the chat real quick. Shout out to my guy LI Yankee King in the building. Salute. Appreciate the conversation. After you saw that Manny Actor interview from RNN Hour, I think looking like you want Manny Actor to be the new manager of the Yankees, which I wouldn't be hesitant about that as well. But let's see how it works out with Aaron Boone, and of course with the rumors of Don Mattingly, of course. But let's see what happened. But shout out to my man Mikey Miles in the 4 Train Express. James Cook is in the building. Frankie Rivera, hey yo, Frankie. What is good, Frankie? Hope all is well. Hope this weekend was good for you, Frank. My man Big Zoop. Sorry about the Mets, brother. But let's finish this conversation because let's take a look around the league because the playoff lineups are shaping up, right? We got the Mets, we got the Yankees, we got the Atlanta Braves. It seemed like everybody is falling into line when it comes to the playoff standings. The Seattle Mariners, shout out to the Seattle Mariners. They have locked in their position for the postseason the first time in 20 years. Since 2000, since Ichiro was on the team. The last time the Seattle Mariners were in the playoffs, Shrek was the #1 movie in the country. But let's look real quick at the standings before we dip out. When it comes to the wild card, Toronto is #1, Seattle's #2, and the Tampa Bay Rays, oh, how they have fallen. They're lucky that the season's over. But if we had another week or 2 weeks left of baseball, Baltimore may have caught up to them. The New York Mets, oh, how they have fallen. But the New York Mets are first in the National League when it comes to the wild card. They will not be having home field advantage going through the ALDS or the AFCS. They will not be having a 5-day off like the rest of the league will. But let's see how this shapes up, because this is new territory that the league has never seen this before, going into the playoffs. Then you got the #1 and 2 seed having 5 days off. It's going to be weird, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen, if that's going to mess with the, how can you say, how hot a team is or the momentum of a team going forward. We really don't know. This is something that we're going to have to see for the first time. And hopefully it's something that doesn't come back and bite us on the end. Because the Yankees, they do need those 5 games off, because you see Clay Holmes, like Eric was talking about, he's injured. We're not sure when Clay Holmes will be coming back. They said he's done for the rest of the season, so definitely he'll be back for the postseason. But will that be for the ALDS or for the ALCS? Something we got to find out. Then as well, Ron Marinaccio, he left yesterday's game with a shin soreness, is what the prognostication was. The diagnosis, I should say. He had shin soreness. So when he first left out the game, everybody started speculating, thinking that it was a dead arm, thinking that it was a shoulder issue, thinking that it was an elbow issue. But we got the news that Ron Marinaccio is suffering from a shin soreness. So hopefully that doesn't sideline him that much. Hopefully it's just a few games. But we only got 4 games left in the season. We got a doubleheader versus Texas. I think that's tomorrow. Let me just double check. The doubleheader's tomorrow. First game's at 2:05. Second game is at 8:05. So that's for Tuesday. The Yankees have a game later on today at 7 o'clock against the Texas Rangers. The Yankees are sending out Luis Severino, and the Rangers sending out Martin Perez. So let this be another start where Luis Severino can up his innings, stretch out a little bit, and get ready for the postseason. Because in the postseason, the Yankees are going to send out a rotation of Garrett Cole, Nestor Cortez, and now we got to figure out whether it be Luis Severino or Jameson Taillon. Honestly, with the way he's been pitching lately, I will give that to Taillon and have Luis Severino be the #4 starter. That's just my personal choice, because when it comes down to it, if the Yankees had to throw out Luis Severino and he only pitches 3 innings or 4 innings, get roughed up, then you could go to the bullpen for Domingo Germán, Clark Smith to be a possible option coming out of that bullpen to stretch out over several innings, if they're coming in the 3rd inning or the 4th inning. So the Yankees have some questions going forward. We have players coming back. Matt Carpenter will be coming back. I think he's playing this series in Texas. I'm not sure if he's playing tonight. But DJ LeMahieu came back yesterday or the day before. I think it was the day before DJ LeMahieu came back. But DJ came back this weekend. Matt Carpenter will be coming back this next 4 games in Texas. We just don't know about Andrew Benintendi. I highly doubt that Andrew Benintendi will be a part of this team, will be on the postseason roster, just because of that injury. Because that injury is weird. And honestly, if you look at the outfield and the energy that Cabrera brings, do you want to get rid of Cabrera? I understand Andrew Benintendi is a better bat. He hits from the left side exclusively, and he's a better bat. But the energy that Cabrera has, is this something that you want to take out the lineup? I'm personally, I'm not too sure. But guys, let's wrap this up. It's 11:55. It's been another great episode of the Yankees Morning Brew. I appreciate everybody who was in the chat. Eric Hubbs as well. Appreciate you, my guy, for taking time out this morning and joining the conversation. Oh, my man Frankie said, what would you do with Chapman? I'll get rid of him. Frank, I'll get rid of it. Frank, if I had to, I'll pay for a Aroldis Chapman Uber myself to JFK or LaGuardia to get him out of the city or for this team. James Cook said Guardians are the hottest team in baseball right now. Yes, they are. The Cleveland Guardians, for the past 2 weeks, they've had the best record in baseball. But it's Cleveland. Cleveland always wet the bed. But it's the postseason. You never know. It just takes one team to get hot to go forward. Yeah, the Astros can do it. Toronto and Seattle, we would take the Guardians and the Rays. Honestly, I'm taking the Rays. This is just not Tampa Bay season. This is just that what we're seeing out of the Tampa Bay Rays is not something we're used to, especially over the past 10 years. Tampa Bay has been a model of excellence in baseball over the past 10 years. And what we're seeing right now, sloppy defense, Randy Arozarena and Yandy Diaz getting into fights out after games because they're losing. There's constant influx when it comes to Tampa the Rays staying in Tampa or the Rays moving. You got MLB wanted to play half of their games in Tampa, the other half in Montreal, which I don't understand whatsoever. I'd rather them play half of their games in Puerto Rico and half of their games in Tampa than having to go all the way to Montreal. But hey, I'm just a guy that talks baseball on the internet. But guys, like I said, appreciate everybody for tuning in. It was a great conversation. My man Frank Rivera, salute. James Cook, salute. I appreciate you. And of course, my man Jigga Man Porto, Pots and Pans. This has been another great episode of the Yankees Morning Brew. I am your guy Hector. Peace.